Hey guys, this is Uncle Klaus Kung Fu Kitchen. I am Uncle Klaus. I speak to you from beautiful Saigon in South Vietnam, where I run a small food delivery service. You can find it on Facebook, uncleklaus.food. And I have decided to start a cooking channel to bring some Western flavors you can easily reproduce at home. My channel is aimed mostly at people who don't know how to cook at all, who have no experience with cooking, and I will try to give you some basic technique, some easy dishes that you can reproduce quickly, easily, and that are most importantly delicious. Today we're going to do a chicken schnitzel. Chicken schnitzel is basically a chicken cutlet, a chicken breast that we're going to fold up and then bread it, fry it. Very tasty, crunchy, juicy, tender, an absolute delight. And we're going to make it with two different side dishes. One is a potato salad. It's a South German style potato salad. That recipe I basically learned from my grandmother. The second is a cucumber salad, so both cold salads, easy to prepare, but an absolute great addition to this chicken schnitzel. So, for this dish that consists of 3 parts, I will give you the rundown, also the best possible order and how to do the different steps, so you save a lot of time and everything goes as efficiently as possible. For that we will start with the potatoes that we will wash first. So the way I boil the potatoes, the way I like to do it, is to leave the skin on. A lot of people like to peel the potatoes before boiling them. That's perfectly fine, but I personally find if you want to eat the potatoes just the way they are, you can peel them and boil them, no problem. But if you want to use these potatoes to make something else with it, let's say mashed potatoes or a potato salad as we do today, I prefer to keep the skin on. In my experience, if you boil them with the skin on, the potato will be more waxy, a little bit easier to cut, it will not fall apart as much. So we put these babies right in the pot. And when you fill it, be generous with your water. The potatoes have to be well covered. A little patience. This looks good to me. When we cook the potatoes, always start with cold water. This might sound a little bit counterintuitive because one boiling technique is to get the water to a boil first and then throw in whatever you want to boil. But with potatoes who take a long time, you risk that they cook unevenly. So we want the water to be cold, the potatoes to be around the same temperature, and then bring everything up to a boil slowly and smooth. We turn on the fire and we set it to a lower medium temperature. In case you don't know what it looks like, high heat, medium heat and low heat. This is high heat, this is the highest setting, so you see the flames going. This is low heat, this is the lowest setting. What we want is somewhere in the middle, right here. It will take around 45 minutes, I will say, 45 minutes to 1 hour. And once we get there, I will show you exactly how you know that your potatoes are ready. So now the potatoes are boiling. Not boiling yet, but they're on the way. So now we have a lot of time to either follow our hobbies and dreams or make some more food. So for this we're gonna prepare a cucumber salad. We're gonna have 2 large cucumbers and we're going to skin them. We're not gonna take off all of the skin because if you take all of the skin, the cucumbers will be a little soft and mushy. And if you keep on a little bit of the skin, it will keep a good crunch. It gives you a very pleasant feeling while eating. I will show you now how to take off half of the skin of a cucumber. This is a nifty little trick. You just take a normal vegetable peeler and slide down the cucumber one way. And now here's the trick. You leave one lane in the middle between your 2 lanes. First of all, it keeps a good crunch and also it looks kind of cool. So you see, okay, this one is a little bit thin, but we're gonna ignore that for now. We're gonna do the same with our second cucumber. And there you have it. 2 beautiful cucumbers, halfway peeled. So now is the first time in the show that we actually take a knife into our hand. This is a chef's knife. It's called a chef's knife because of the shape. And a lot of professional chefs use this as the most important tool. One advice, guys, keep your knives sharp. all the time. This is important because it helps you to slice more precisely, cut more precisely. If the knife is dull, it can easily tear whatever you want to cut, and your cut is not very clean. For that, I have this little gadget that came with my knife set, very convenient. And I'm going to sharpen this knife. So now we have our knives ready, we have our cucumber peel, and now we're gonna cut them. With the cucumber, we're gonna cut off the ends like this. We don't need those because they're getting smaller, and what we want everything to be around the same size because it's gonna cook more evenly, it's gonna be more easy to eat, and it's gonna be optically much more appealing. So how do we cut now? You place this cucumber on the table firmly. We're gonna fixate it with our hands. Never cut like this because you're gonna cut and you cut your own fingers, all right? Let's avoid that. That's not a good start to the day. This is why we cut like this, because even if we get close to the hand with our knives, it will reach this point and cannot go any further. And this way we avoid cutting ourselves. When you cut, the shape of the knife will show you the way, all right? I'll show you. And you get off really thin, beautiful slices, and when you get more confident, you can pick up the speed. Okay, next step. This is one of the most important skills that you have to learn when you want to cook and when you want to impress people, is how to slice an onion. Why is this impressive to people? The most simple trick when you want someone to believe that you're a good cook: heat up some oil and fry some onions inside. The smell smells immediately like good cooking. So we take the onion, slice it in half, right through the flour, and then we take off the first 2 layers of skin. I prefer to take off the second layer as well, because sometimes it can have like some discoloration or like some spots that don't look so pretty. So I like to take off both skins, and onions have enough layers, don't worry, you'll have enough onion. Another trick, by the way, when you want to slice onions, keep them in the fridge first. Slice them as cold as possible. We all know what's going to happen when you slice onions. It's going to be a lot of tears. So if you keep the onions cold, you can minimize this effect. A second way to minimize the effect is to slice the onion from this side to this side and keep this part intact. Because if you keep this part intact, the onions will release less of the gases that make your eyes water up. This is my preferred way to slice an onion. There's different techniques, but this is the one that I like. We fix it with our hand and slice inside. Not the whole way through, just maybe this far. And we do that several times throughout the whole body of the onion. And then we make incisions from the top to the bottom. I'm going to do this really slow so you guys can see what I'm doing here. And you see there's already some pieces falling out. It doesn't bother us too much. And we slice it a third time from here to here. Again, not all the way through, only up to here, right? So we keep this part intact. First of all, it doesn't make us cry. Second, it's easier to hold because the onion will not fall apart, right? And the reason why we slice this onion quite small and fine is because we're going to put it into the salad raw. And we don't want to have big chunks of onion in the salad, because if you eat a big chunk of raw onion, the flavor experience is quite intense. So now we take all the onions, put them into the salad. Well, now I see it's maybe a little bit much onions for the amount of salad, so this amount should be sufficient. Go a little bit with your eyes, go a little bit with your feelings. I'm not measuring out too much here, but if it optically looks all right, then you should trust your instincts. Next step, dill. Dill is what's going to give a lot of flavor to the salad. Dill is one of my favorite spices in the world, one of my favorite herbs in the world. It's a little bit, it fell out of fashion a little bit in Western cooking, I think, but in Asia it's still quite strong. I like it in fish dishes, and I especially like it in fresh salads. Got a decent amount. This is much more than we need. I just take this out for convenience. Then we sort it a little bit. We take, for this amount of salad, I would say like three nice sprigs, 2 to 3 nice sprigs. We wash it quickly. Guys, whenever you work with fresh herbs, you know, that's dill, rosemary, thyme, mint, or basil, anything you like, When you should wash it, of course, but don't wash it too much. Because the reason why herbs have so much flavor are essential oils that come from the leaves of the herb. And if you wash it too rough and you wash it too much, you will wash away all these oils and you will wash away all that flavor. This is why you take herbs, you just brush them very quickly with water, but don't scrub them too much because you want to keep that flavor. Okay, so now our dill is washed, so we're going to pluck the parts that we need and then we're going to cut it. All these big stems, they're really not needed. They don't have a lot of flavor and they're very tough to chew. This is why we pluck off only the small tender leaves. But for this dish, you don't have to be super precise. Just pluck them off at the end of the stem, right here. Bloop. So we have the amount of dill that we need. And now we're gonna chop it. We're gonna chop it quite roughly, not very fine, because we want the pieces to be large enough that when you bite into them, you can have the flavor. How are we gonna chop the herbs? We're gonna place our knife here, place one hand on top, and then do a little whipping motion, just like that. And now, guys, it's very tempting, and I've been there, believe me, to think right now you have to chop as hard as you possibly can. Like, oh, it's really not necessary at all, right? Just do a very smooth, soft motion. No need to put in any pressure. We do it once this side and once on the other side. Now we're gonna gather all this fresh dill. You see, this is the size that we want, and we put it into our salad. So now we have the base ingredients for our salad: cucumber, onions, and dill. And now we're gonna mix up a little dressing to bring it all together. For our dressing, we need a couple of things. We need oil, yogurt, salt and pepper, what we need for almost everything. And we need some vinegar too. We're gonna start with a little oil. Then we add some yogurt. How much dressing you want depends a little bit on your own personal taste. I like the flavor quite thick. This is why I usually add a lot of dressing, but you can make it a little bit lighter if you prefer that. The ratio from oil to yogurt, I would say like 2 parts oil, 3 parts yogurt. And we're just gonna dump it in. A little word about salt and pepper. Usually you get pepper or other spices, you get them in these jars. I would recommend that when you cook, during your cooking process, that you take it and put it into a bowl, and then later you can put it back if you want. But this way is just so much easier to use. One of the most important lessons that you can learn during cooking: make life easy for yourself. No need to make things more complicated than they have to be. Same with salt, just add a little bit. We're going to put in some pepper, like a pinch, maybe this much. Now you think maybe this looks like a lot, but you have to consider that it will spread out over all the cucumbers and all the other ingredients. And then we do the same with salt. Be quite generous with the salt. Then we mix it through. And then we add 1 splash of vinegar. Vinegar is a natural flavor enhancer. Vinegar basically makes everything taste better. We mix it through until it's cohesive. That's what we want. We want like a cohesive sauce that looks pretty much the same color and texture throughout. And then we put it over our salad. Look. We just mix it through until everything is covered. Okay. We will keep this in the fridge for about 1 hour, and then it has soaked up all the flavor, and that's what we're looking for. In the meantime, now our cucumber salad is in the fridge. Our potatoes are boiling. They're not done yet. I will show you a little trick on how to know that they are done. If you stab the potato and it falls off very easily, then the potatoes are ready. Like with this one, for example, you see, takes a little while to slide off. So I would give this another 5 to 10 minutes until they're ready. So we have a little bit of time until our potatoes are ready. So maybe I'll share some Things about myself with you guys, like how did I come to cooking, you know, like why did I develop this passion? Well, in my family, cooking was always cooking and food was always a very, very important thing, you know. And when I was 16, 17 years old, my mom, she would work a lot and she didn't always have the time to cook. So one day she said to me, listen, my friend, you have two options. Either you learn how to cook or you're gonna eat sandwiches for the rest of your life. And I thought, I like sandwiches, but maybe learning to cook is a better choice. And I went to some cooking classes, I taught a lot by myself, I learned a lot from my mom, I learned a lot from my grandmother. And yeah, I just kept this passion, and at some point in life I thought, yeah, this is what I actually want to do. I love food, I love cooking, so I'm here to share all my experiences with you guys. Okay, the time has come, and now the potatoes should be done. I will show you how to tell. See this big body right here? We're gonna pierce him with our fork, lift it up, and bloop! He's falling right back down, you know? If you piece the potato through completely, you have to go through the whole core, lift it up, and if it falls down by itself without shaking, without moving, then you know your potatoes are done. Time to pour the potatoes. Use your gloves because this pot is really, really, really hot, all right? So the potatoes are out of the water, but I doused them with water just back then because although they're not on the heat anymore, these things will still keep cooking because of the internal heat that they got during the cooking process. So we took these babies off the heat. Although they're not on the fire anymore, they're still cooking because of the internal temperature. This is why we douse them with water. This is why we keep them outside and let them cool down for a little bit, because right now we want to peel them, take off the skin, but right now they're still really, really, really hot. So be careful, don't burn yourself. Also, by the way, if you want to make potato salad, a great way to do that is if you make potatoes anyways today, you boil a big pot of potatoes, eat half of it, and tomorrow with your leftover potatoes, you make a potato salad. See, this is my handsome brother. It's time to peel them. Peeling potatoes, boiled potatoes especially, is quite easy. You know, the skin will come off very, very, very easily. You can cut them away. You still have enough potato for your salad. Okay, so we got our potatoes peeled. As you remember, we boiled them with the skin on because I think the texture is nicer, is more waxy, a little bit more firm, rich, than if you cook them without the skin. And for me personally, I also feel like if you cook them with the skin, they keep more flavor inside. Because every surface that is exposed to heat and water will, through the cooking process, lose a little bit of its flavor components. And cooking with the skin keeps them all inside, and we get a lot of rich, potatoey goodness. That's what we're looking for. So when we slice our potatoes, just try to make sure that the pieces are all the same size. Apart from that, it doesn't have to look too pretty because we're gonna mix it up with a couple of other things anyways. But generally, the same goes here. Fixate it with your hand. Don't put out your fingers. Keep your fingers inside and just slice them smoothly into like pieces of this size. This is what we're looking for. It just has to be consistent, roughly same size. We're gonna slice up a little onion. The technique is the same as we had before. If you have a slice left over like this, that's very difficult to cut from the top. Just put it on the side, make things easy for you. Choop, 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 choop. And the pieces are gonna be around the same size, all right? So now we're gonna place the potatoes in our bowl together with these onions. So we're gonna make the dressing. We need vinegar again. We need some stock. You can choose basically any stock you want. I right here have vegetable stock because I think the vegetable flavor is more suitable with the potato. But you can use beef stock or chicken stock or whatever stock you want. We need some mustard. I'll explain why. And we need, of course, our old friends salt and pepper. So we're gonna take a little bit of our stock. Be careful with these stocks, especially the dried ones, because they're quite intense, you know, and like we don't have that much of salad. So let's not overpower this. So I say this is enough. We're going to add some hot water. That should be enough. We have our stock. This is the basis for our flavor. To round it out a bit, we're going to add mustard. Mustard has two effects. One of it gives it a little bit, it improves the flavor. The flavor will become more rich, more deep, some spicy, some tangy notes. And also mustard is a natural emulsifier, which will help you to get your dressing and your potato salad more cohesive. You will see that when we put in the dressing to the salad, it will look a little bit soupy, but when we let it rest for a little bit, the mustard will help to get a little bit more thick and rich. Right? So for this amount, we're gonna take maybe, not exactly a tablespoon, but like almost a tablespoon of mustard, put it inside. And now just, that flavor alone was worth it. I'm telling you, I'm having like, I really want to eat now. Mustard is one of the best things in the world. If you have a few little clumps in there, don't stress it too much. This won't affect your salad because they will dissolve later in the bowl. Now we're gonna add salt and pepper. Pepper, salt. And then we're gonna add some vinegar, just a dash. That should be enough. And now you smell this. It's spicy, tangy, vinegary. You can smell the mustard, the rich base from the stock. Absolutely delicious. I could drink this by itself. Now it's time to bring it all together, and we just nonchalantly douse it over the top like this. And now you see you still have some crumbs of mustard in there. And it looks a little bit soupy, right? So we're gonna mix it together, make sure everything is covered. And now you see how it's already coming together a bit, like the liquid is getting more thick. It's the mustard, it's the starch from the potatoes. And we're gonna let it rest for at least 1 hour. Ideally you rest it overnight, you make it today and you eat it tomorrow. But at least let it rest for 1 hour in the fridge. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the main event, the reason why we're here, the chicken schnitzel, right? For that we need chicken breast, we need flour, we need an egg, we need breadcrumbs, we need salt and pepper, we need oil for frying. Before you do anything else, before you even touch the meat, put your pan on the heat. So the reason why I do that, I want to heat up the pan before I start cooking, because it will help the food to cook more evenly. Because if the pan is still quite cold and it is not at the temperature that I want for cooking, the meat might cook unevenly and you might not get the crust, the crunchiness that you really want, you know? This is why whenever you fry something in a pan, first start the fire under the pan, let the pan get hot. When you feel like the pan has a nice temperature, then you add your oil and let it heat up too. I would never recommend putting anything into cold oil. It's very tempting like to put the pan on the fire, put on the oil and put in the food. Give it time to heat up so everything will cook more evenly and become more crisp. We put in some cooking oil of your choice. I would recommend vegetable oil or sunflower oil or canola oil. I would not, for frying, recommend olive oil because it has a strong flavor and it's not the best thing for frying. Right? So we're gonna add oil quite liberally. We will coat the bottom of the pan and now we just let it heat up. We have a beautiful chicken breast. Before you start slicing the meat, have a little look around to see if there are any spots that are maybe not the prettiest, because if you buy meat from the supermarket, you know, it might not always be the most beautiful meat that you get. If you see these little white spots, something like that, that's something that you can take away. It's not gonna help your flavor, you know, it's gonna make the meat a little bit more tough. There are several ways to open up the meat. The most common one is a technique called to butterfly the chicken breast, because in the end it looks like a butterfly. But this is not what we're going to do today. What we're going to do today is to roll out the meat as much as we can. I will explain step by step. We make first an incision here to spread it open a little bit. Then you see like we have a thick part and a thin part, right? We place the meat at the knife right to the thick part and make one slice. And now we roll it open a bit and hold it tall, you see? And then we just make another slice and we do that again, right? And now we roll it open like a roll. The reason why we do that is because we want the meat to be very flat, very thin, because it's gonna cook more evenly and it's gonna cook quickly. And it's gonna stay juicy inside and crispy outside. The next step is we have to pound the meat flat. There are several ways to do that. You can use your hands if you want. You can use a meat hammer if you want. I will use this Asian kitchen knife, mostly because it looks badass. And we're gonna take the dull end of the knife and just gently pound the chicken from the top to make it A, more tender, and secondly, get it more flat and spread it out more. When you have like around the consist, like the tenderness that you want, you start to pound it with the flat side. Pound the meat flat so that you have a very even thickness and an even surface too. We're now going to season the meat with salt and pepper. Start with the pepper and just dust it quite liberally. And we do exactly the same thing with the salt from both sides. Now you think, oh my god, this chicken doesn't look beautiful at all. That's fine for this dish because we're going to bread it and you're not going to see the skin just the way you see it now. And now it's time for the breading. For that we need flour, an egg. One egg is usually enough for like two of these babies, and we need some breadcrumbs as well. I'm gonna crack the egg. I'm gonna mix it together. And now we're going to coat it first in the flour. And just lightly put it in. You don't need to press it. The more you press it, the better it will become. Shake off any excess. And then put it into the egg. A lot of people recommend the one dry hand, one wet hand method. So that means for all the dry ingredients, you only use one hand, and for the wet ingredients, you only use the other hand. So your hands don't get caked up and dirty. So we mix this around to make sure that all the areas of the meat are covered with egg. Shake off any excess. And now we put it to the breadcrumbs. Guys, if you keep the flour and if you keep the breadcrumbs, do yourself a favor and take a big box like this. Don't put it on a plate. It's gonna be messy, it's gonna be inefficient, it's gonna fall off to the sides. This is what you want. You know, it's safe in there. So we just take it and drop it into the oil like so.
A few moments later.
Okay, so the schnitzel is ready and waiting. We got the salads back out of the fridge. As you can see, the potato salad is much more thick and rich and cohesive now. As a last step, we're gonna add a little bit of oil to the salad, to potato salad. Just not a whole tablespoon, but around that. Mix it through. I love spring onions. They give the whole thing a little bit of freshness, peppery bite. Makes the whole thing a little bit more fresh and easy to eat. And then we're gonna take it and just sprinkle it over our potato salad. Adds a really nice fresh color. And that's how the finished product looks like. As a last step, we're going to take a little lime, slice it in half again. And now it's time to plate up. We have our schnitzel. And take a nice piece of potato salad, a nice piece of cucumber salad. Top the whole thing off with a slice of lime. And there you go. Time to eat now. We start with the cucumber salad. It's fresh, very crunchy, very nice addition to this. You can eat this any time of the year, but especially in summer when it's hot. You see the potato salad? God, so good. And with the chicken, we add some lime juice for a little tang on top. And if I'm not mistaken, I should be able to cut this just with my fork. And you see, it's completely cooked through. It's juicy in the middle. Crunchy. If you would eat this, you would hear it in your own ears how crunchy this is. And it's delicious. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Chicken schnitzel, German style. If you try this dish at home, let me know your results. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm always here. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. And never forget, Uncle Klaus loves you.